What are they hiding? If there's nothing to hide, open up the doors, let the sun shine in.
America, you just watched a Democrat state auditor beg her own party to follow the law that 72% of Massachusetts voters approved, and they told her to go to hell.
That report showed nearly $12 million in fraud identified in fiscal year 2025 alone.
Massachusetts Democrats blocked her from auditing the one place she's legally required to audit, the state legislature itself.
We are the only state in the nation that unfortunately has a legislature, governor's office, and court system that exempt themselves from the state's public records law.
Think about that. The only state in America where politicians literally wrote themselves immunity from oversight. And when voters said enough, the politicians said, we don't care. What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me show you how the corruption protection racket actually works when people doing the stealing also write the rules. Before we get into why Democrats are blocking Diana DiZoglio, let me show you what she found when she did the audits that she's quote unquote allowed to do, because this is the tip of the iceberg, the size of the freaking Titanic here.
Federal prosecutors say the group stole more than $1 million worth of SNAP benefits from Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and the U.S. attorney is vowing more prosecutions involving SNAP fraud.
El Primo restaurants in Massachusetts. We covered this in a previous video. Authentic Dominican food is what they labeled as, except for the only authentic thing about this place was the authenticity of the fraud happening there.
These defendants used stolen identities from victims across the country.
U.S. Attorney Leah Foley told reporters that the owner of El Primo, 37-year-old Raul Fernandez Vicioso, and 3 others, including 2 Venezuelan nationals, used stolen identification to fraudulently collect more than $400,000 in federal food assistance benefits, or SNAP, and $700,000 in federal unemployment benefits.
Watch the genius of this operation. They didn't just steal SNAP benefits. They stole identities from across the country, applied for benefits in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and use that money to stock their restaurant. Zero food costs. Pure absolute profit. American taxpayers funded this entire business model here. But the El Primo scheme was just amateur hour compared to this next one.
As both these small grocery stores in Mattapan were getting up to $500,000 in SNAP redemptions per month. Both owners are accused of exchanging benefits for cash and alcohol, as well as selling meal packs from the nonprofit that are sent to charities overseas.
$500,000 per month. You know what that tells me? These aren't grocery stores. These were money laundering operations, period, with SNAP card readers. That's what it was. We covered this story in its entirety, but for those of you that have not heard it or want to get caught up, we're going to dive right in. Listen to what the feds found. Only 10% of the transactions were under $40. Meanwhile, 70% exceeded $95. You know what quote unquote normal people buy at corner stores with food stamps? Bread, milk, eggs, maybe 20, 30 bucks worth of groceries.
The court documents showed that thousands of transactions have been taking place for years in large dollar amounts at stores that were not even large enough to store a fraction of the food necessary to justify these dollar amounts.
Translation: everybody knew this was fraud and nobody stopped it for years. Now let me introduce you to Diana DiZoglio, Democrat, former state representative, former state senator, and currently the state auditor who just exposed $12 million in fraud in just one fiscal year by doing audits she's allowed to do.
I'm someone who was born to a 17-year-old single mother, grew up housing insecure. My mother relied on WIC, Women, Infants, and Children. She put herself through school. She became a nurse, and we were able to move forward and support ourselves.
She grew up on WIC. She knows what it's like when families need these particular programs, which is exactly why she's furious that the fraud is stealing from people who actually need help. And in 2024, Massachusetts voters gave her a 72% mandate to audit the one institution that's been exempt from accountability: the state legislature.
72% of the general public, the voting population in the state, went out and said that they want increased transparency and accountability via this office conducting an audit of the state legislature.
72%. That is not a political mandate. That is a popular uprising. Progressive Democrats and conservative Republicans came together and said, you know what? We need to figure out where our money's going. And guess what happened next?
We had asked the Attorney General to represent our office, and originally we thought that maybe she was just going to recuse herself from this process, being that it's two government entities having a dispute about something regarding the law. But she didn't just recuse herself, Matt. She actually vehemently has been opposing our efforts to access the courts.
The Massachusetts Attorney General didn't just refuse to help DiZoglio enforce the law voters actually passed. She effectively opposed her in court on behalf of the Speaker of the House and the Senate President.
I've released over 150 pages of back and forths between the Office of the Attorney General and my office's legal counsel that make it crystal clear that we've done our best to answer every single question.
And the AG's response: keep blocking her access to the courts while pretending she's still waiting for answers.
I actually accepted an offer from Judge Gertner to mediate the conversation between the Attorney General and I. And I said, sure, I will have Judge Gertner mediate these conversations between the Attorney General and I so that we can move forward. The Attorney General refused.
DiZoglio even agreed to judicial mediation, and the AG said, no bueno, because this isn't about constitutional concerns or separation of power, at least in my opinion, is about protecting the legislation from accountability.
She's not interested in speaking with me. She's interested in defending the Speaker and Senate President.
There it is. The Attorney General of Massachusetts is defending politicians against the people who voted 72% to audit these same politicians. You want to know what they're hiding? Follow the refusal.
This is the tip of the iceberg. We are investigating many more benefit fraud cases in my office, and today's announcement is just the beginning.
Multiple investigations ongoing. And remember, this is just the fraud that Diana found during that particular audit in state agencies. Now, I want to ask you guys in the chat and ask yourself, if she found $12 million in fraud in agencies that she quote unquote can audit, what do you think she'd find in an institution that's fighting this hard to stay hidden?
Well, you know, the SJC does have the final decision on this. My confidence in the courts is at an all-time low, unfortunately.
Listen to the absolute exhaustion in her voice. A Democrat auditor who grew up poor, who believes in these programs, who's doing exactly what the voters told her to do, and she's losing faith that the courts will side with the people over the politicians. This, my friends, is what corruption looks like when it's systematic. It's just not one bad apple or one bad actor. It's the Attorney General protecting the legislator. It's the courts slow walking justice. It's the politicians exempting themselves from the same laws they enforce on you and me. America, let me connect some dots that they don't want you to see. A Democrat auditor just exposed $20 million in combined fraud cases across multiple schemes. Restaurants using stolen identities to stock their kitchens. Grocery stores processing $7 million through locations too small to justify that particular volume. Criminals filing benefits from addresses that housed 117 stolen identities. And when 72% of voters said audit the legislator, every single Democrat in power said no. The Speaker, the Senate President, the Attorney General, even the state Democratic Party that endorsed the audit before the vote is now absolutely cricket silence while the leadership blocks it. You know what this tells me? They know what they'll find. And it's bad enough that they're willing to ignore a 72% voter mandate to keep it hidden. DiZoglio said it herself. Massachusetts is the only state in America where legislators, governor's office, and courts exempt themselves from public records laws. They build systems where the fox can guard the hen house. And when you try to install cameras, they sue to keep the lights off. The fraud they're hiding isn't 12 million. It isn't even $20 million. It's whatever number is big enough to justify burying 72% of your own voters to protect it. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.